regards to a retire or retire. But first we need to call the meeting to order. Bob, would you please call the roll?
Emily Eva. Here. Cinder Cooper.
Here.
Tom Ringvine.
Here.
Bryan Miller.
Here.
Glenn Newcomb.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, under new business, we have the hearing to discuss retire, volunteer employees. Tim Massey, our high school Spanish teacher. And the floor is open for discussion at this time.
I'm unaware of it.
Okay. Before we go to the other meeting, do we need to adjourn this meeting before we go to the regular meeting?
Let's have a motion.
No actions will be taken, therefore could I have a motion for adjournment?
Also moved.
Moved by Cinder, is there a second? By Tom. Please call the roll.
Cinder.
Yes.
Tom. Bryan.
Yes.
Glenn.
Yes.
Emily. Thank you.
Okay. We will now proceed. Go back here to our regular agenda for June. Let's call the June meeting to order. Let's begin with the pledge of the flag. We can do that. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and again, welcome to the June 15th meeting of the Bryan City Board of Education. It's a hot summer evening out there, and we want to thank everyone who is joining us this evening for presentations, as well as our viewing audience. Fellow board members, in front of you, you have the minutes to the May meeting. Upon the review, are there any additions or corrections to the May minutes? And if there are no additions or corrections, could I have a motion supporting that? So moved. Moved by Tom, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Sandra. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Cinder.
Yes.
Tom. Yes. Bryan. Yes. Glenn.
Yes.
Emily.
Moving on to public participation, I'm unaware of anything from the Bryan Education Association. Therefore, we now have a presentation from on the bowling.
Okay. I don't know if most of you know me or not, but I am Doug Miller. I'm the head coach of the Bryan High School bowling team, and with me I brought my assistant coaches the boys, my wife Kathy Jo Miller, and then Kelly. I went to bring in Dean, mother of Griffin Dean, one of the boy bowlers, and then Troy Saladin, Brittany Saladin's dad. So, and with that, Bryan Bowling has been a club sport for the past 5 years. In that time, the girls have won 4 straight NWOAL titles, a 6th place finish at state, and a state championship in singles. The girls have an overall record of 81 wins and 3 losses. The boys have won 1 NWOAL title and have an overall record of 58 wins and 26 losses. We have also had 5 athletes go to college and bowl on scholarships. But the real reason we would like to be a varsity sport is to benefit the student athletes. And I'm going to keep it short, so do you guys have any questions for us?
I'm going to jump in here for a minute because one of the things that the board asked Rob and I to prepare for this event tonight was some cost estimates. So if we look at comparable needs for this activity to be considered as a varsity sport, total wages and fringes for the coaches to be comparable to any of our other varsity sports that we have currently on site would be a head coach at 16%, an assistant coach at 13%, along with the retirement, the Medicare, and the workman's comp, for a total of approximately $10,584. Other expenses that the school would be looking at, facility rental of $2,000, which would go to the Bryan lanes, and it's my understanding that that would give us year-round access to the bowling lanes, and that is also comparable to the fees that we pay for use of the Williams County YMCA for our swim team and diving teams, and also to the David Betts facility for use for our baseball and softball programs. So that facility rental is in line with what we currently pay for other programs as well. varsity letters and different awards, as he was mentioning, the NWAL champions and those recognition would around estimate of $250. Tournament fees, this is estimated just based on the current tournaments that they're participating in of around $800. Meals and lodging for tournaments, because we do provide for like sectional tournaments, district tournaments, we provide a meal allowance for our athletes. And sometimes if they're required to stay overnight, we pay that as well, estimated at around $1,000. And then transportation, which would include everything from the bus driver's wages to the estimated fuel cost to the estimated reimbursement. And again, just based on the current schedule, the current away meets, we're estimating that at approximately $1,100. So total cost for this program to run through the school district and what currently is being paid for completely by parents is around $15,750. As Doug said, bowling has been up to this point recognized as a club sport. It's been very successful. It has given an opportunity for our athletes who do not participate in other extracurricular or varsity sports a chance to compete, a chance to represent their school district, and a chance to, as Doug alluded to, qualify themselves for scholarships and different opportunities following high school. So those were some of the questions that I was asked to prepare for, and so I, along with Doug, would be willing to answer any other questions that the board may have.
Doug, how many bowlers do you have you had this year, boys and girls, varsity, JV? Do you bowl like a JV schedule as well?
No, we do not have a JV schedule, but at this current time last year, we had 6 boys and 6 girls.
That's total for, and you need 5 for a team?
Correct.
Okay, so you have 1 extra. And your prospects coming up, junior high, strong program there?
Yes, I actually have, I think 3 or 4 boys coming in this upcoming year. And then I have, I believe, an addition of 1 girl this year that I'm aware of, which would keep us at 6. 2 years ago, we did have 10 girls on the team. Now, I don't know if, the one girl, Elizabeth Honey, said she was gonna come back out on her senior year for the bowling team, but I don't, I wait and see on that, to see how that plays out.
Do other schools in NWL have these all as school sports, or are they club sports?
It's a mixture right now, but NWIL recognized, I think it was beginning last year or 2 years ago, bowling as a league sport because every school except Montpelier does offer bowling.
Yep. We've had an NWAL title for 4 years now.
Okay.
So out of the 5 years, 4 years it's been NWA.
Forgive me for asking because I don't know the answers, but how do we go about, if we approve this, how do you go about the coaches? Does that go through then the athletic director's department for hiring as it
Correct.
normally would? Okay.
Correct. Our athletic director, current athletic director now approves Doug and his assistant coach, his wife in this case, as volunteers.
Okay,
So we've had some of that oversight already.
okay.
I don't know that we have any vans big enough to transport, if you have 5 boys, 5 girls, and 2 coaches, 12, right? So we take a
Not
bus.
one, we could take 2,
vans.
if possible. If there were more than 14 traveling, then we would have to take a bus.
Well, because I knew that one of their concerns is they have to get to the bowling alleys early enough, so that they can bowl and not interfere with nighttime leagues, is that right?
Correct, because we are at the mercy of the bowling alleys, and most of their leagues start at 6:30. So our
So you need to be there.
competition normally starts around between 4 and 4:30. If we start at 4:30, we're usually done shortly after 6.
So are you willing or able to be van certified?
Oh,
Because that's one of the
yes.
things that, that's a way to kind of ease the transportation burden.
Yeah, that would not be an issue. And Dustin Gillette has been training with me this year and basically just learning from me because would really like to have him know the same thing I know about bowling. He is also helping. It's not an issue that we get 3 paychecks. That's not why we do it. But I believe he's already CDL certified for that with being a fireman. I don't know.
He'd have to be specifically van
Yeah.
certified for
Van
school
certified for
transportation.
school,
There's
okay.
some testing and things that you would
Okay.
have to do through the office,
Okay.
but if he's certified CDL, I'm sure there'll be no issue with that.
The question I would ask, does it have to be a coach that's certified, or could it be a parent or?
Parent could be van certified, but they have to go through the training, and there's a background check, things like that.
Okay.
Like I said, you can get more information. But if we're tight, like she said, if there's more than 14, I don't know how many you'd wanna travel.
The
'Cause you
most
know-
I could actually take with, is 8 to a match. Boys and girls, that's all I can carry on the rosters per team. Like this year, would have been an issue with 12, and then, 2 coaches or so.
And you normally have all the kids travel?
Normally, the parents take
Because
all the
parents are
kids, correct.
transporting right now.
Right.
And if it became a school sport, could the parents who are not varsity, parents of non-varsity players, like they're not on the top 5 on the team, could the parents transport those kids as well, or no? They
We
have to all
typically,
be,
yeah, we typically don't, if it would be recognized as a school sport, we want all the athletes to travel together. But you're exactly right, that using vans would be much cheaper than the bus
Right.
estimate that we currently have.
and they could leave earlier, that's
And
the
they could
biggest
leave
issue.
earlier. So we would look at that option first.
I mean, the Swan currently bowls out of Jugs in Toledo. And if I'm not out of here by shortly after 3, it would be very difficult to manage before their leagues start.
Could I jump in and ask a question?
Absolutely.
Would I be able to do that? We had talked a little bit about our kids that are going to Fort County. Then the school would then at that time dismiss them a little bit early to get back here to travel.
That's what we typically do with any of our student athletes already. If it's traveling an issue and they needed to get back here, we would ask them to be released.
And then is there transportation from Fort County back to the high school, or parents need to pick them up early and bring them back to the high school?
There's not an early bus that would be able to go
Okay.
get them. It would be up to the parent or to the student to bring them back.
Okay.
But since I work in Archbold, it actually works out pretty good because I just go over there and pick up the students from Fort County and then go to the match from there with them.
Yeah,
That
that
won't
kinda
be able to happen.
complicates things a little if
A
we,
little bit.
if we have van drivers and everybody's
Right.
going together. I know there've been exceptions if there's a student that's somewhere else. Perhaps one van could go and pick up Fort
I
County
think to
students.
my
How many of your kids are Fort County
I
kids?
think to my knowledge, I'm gonna have 2.
Just 2, okay.
If we were to take action on this, Dinah, when would we need to complete that by?
This is a winter sport, so I think if we wanted to take action in July or August, that would give you enough time to prepare. If we had an answer for you in one of the next 2 months, would that, in time for your season?
The only thing that I would have to ask is, right now I do have the funds and we would relinquish that funds to the school.
Okay,
But, I have tournaments the tournaments that I have the kids in, I usually have to get them in before school is considered being starting. In fact, right now, I've already received an entry form from the Norton High School tournament that we bowled in Akron last year, because the tournaments fill up quickly. And if it's a good tournament, then it's a hard sell, so I would be wanting to get that entry form in very soon.
okay.
I have a couple more questions. There's nothing listed here for equipment or uniforms, so how would that be covered?
Correct? Yes. At this time, the parents pay for the uniforms. The kids like to have their names on the jerseys.
Sure.
And to do that, that personalizes it. So at this time, they are paying for their jerseys.
If it become a school sport, do they still want to do that? Do they want the school to pay for the uniforms? What are we thinking about?
I think at this time, I think they would be happy just paying for the jerseys right now. and keeping
So
their
then they
names
can
on.
keep them?
Right.
Yeah, then they can
Okay.
keep them.
And they buy their own balls and shoes,
Correct.
obviously,
Mhm.
like any other athlete.
There has been times, I mean, there's gonna be advantages and a little bit disadvantages for me, as far as I can see it being varsity. One of the advantages that I have is I can purchase the bowling balls for the kids and let them pay me back in payments.
Now, you said you've got some money. What kind of organization is it in? Is it like a
It's-
loose?
It is in a nonprofit checking account through F&M Bank. Or not F&M, but I'm sorry, First Federal.
Yeah, but did you set up a nonprofit
Yes, I set it all up.
organization?
It's just through.
Or just a loose? You
It's
can
just
say
a
it's
loose
loosey-goosey.
nonprofit.
It's like what you put your money in for bowling.
Correct.
Okay. And you've had fundraisers and stuff, just,
Yes, last
that's
year
how
we
you
did a
got money?
reverse auction to raise money for, we have enough money that we can bowl next season and part of another season.
Well, and I guess the reason I'm asking is, would you wanna continue that, like, to help fundraise for bowlers, like you said, that can't buy balls? Or would you wanna continue to do that, to do extra tournaments that maybe the school wouldn't be willing or able to pay for? Would you wanna keep that organization as like a bowling support league,
We could do
Like a
that,
booster,
I
I
guess
could
that's
think
up
more.
to you guys, if you guys feel that that's, that money's there, it's there for the bowlers, it's not there for anything else, so.
I guess that's something you'd want to talk to Rob about, maybe the best way to handle that, and, because truly, you guys have raised the money.
Right.
And it should all go to bowling.
Right.
As opposed to being in the big athletic department
Well, that was
pot.
my only concern, is that there's close to 6,500 in there right now, is that would go towards the bowling teams. Since it's the money the parents raised and helped raise for that.
When we set up our athletic accounts, we set them up by sport. So any money that you would choose to donate on behalf of the kids for this program would be dedicated only to bowling. It would not go into a general fund. But on the same line, if we were to, the next board meeting is July 13th, if you needed to enter into those tournaments, could you use those funds to go ahead and get the tournament entries that you need immediately?
Yes, except then the fund won't be 6,500 or
Right,
right about 6,500.
Right, we would
it'll be a little less than
yeah,
that because
we would
that's-
understand that.
I entered those tournaments. Of course, the one is our tournament, that one don't have to be in us. I will reserve those spots
You will
for
reserve a
us.
spot for us.
You can make sure they have a spot.
But that is kind of a question I would have. You guys take over the finances of that, if, like currently right now, when I run the tournament in Bryan, everybody sends me a check for that. I put it into the checking account, I pay for the awards that come out of that, and then I pay the lineage to the bowling alley.
Yeah, that would be, you would get trained on, and you would work with the athletic director to fill out requisitions for purchases so that it was done through the school system, and any deposits would come directly to the school and be deposited in, again, your bowling account, and then any payments would go out from that.
I have a person that does stats for us. When we have our tournament, he is very efficient. We're talking as soon as the bowlers are done, he knows who won what in the singles and stuff and what teams are advancing. He's very efficient. I do pay him for that. I usually use the money out of the admission fee for the tournament. I think we charge the adults $3 and the kids $1 to enter it, and we raise enough money that I just use that money and I pay him for that.
Again, you would just have to do the requisition to
Okay.
pay him
Right.
a fee for running that tournament for you.
Do you have any other questions for us? Anyone have any questions for them?
Good information.
Thank you so much.
Pretty impressive Friday to go see Danica Hickey receive her award
That
from
was awesome, wasn't
from
it?
the
was
state
awesome.
representative. Yeah, Rod McCauley was there, and that's a big deal. He said that's the highest honor bestowed by the State House of Representatives, so that was very impressive.
Next year, I'd like to have the whole team there.
Amen.
Good, thank
Good
you.
luck. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we are returning all 5 starters for the girls, so. They were just 4 sophomores and a freshman, and then I had Mackenzie Bauer, which was a senior, but she was not the strongest bowler on the team, so I'm very excited about next season. I'm really excited about the boys this upcoming season also, I think.
Are you guys involved like in the Bantam leagues or in the youth leagues? at the-
Yes, we do. We actually run the Saturday morning program in
We
Bryan.
actually ran
the
for
kids.
25 years now.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. That's cool. So you know who's coming up and who's doing
Does
it?
there appear to be growing interest on the part of the kids?
I think that I am gaining interest in it. I cannot just come out and say, yes, I am. I do know that I have a gap right now for the girls in the 7th and 8th grade, but I have quite a few 6th graders I know coming up, that so when gaining as a senior, I will have a lot of freshmen coming in that year. So it seems to be right now constantly replenishing itself. Like I said, I did learn that 10 girls are too many. I have
Yeah, if you don't have a JV schedule for
Well,
them to bowl,
correct.
it's discouraging for them,
I
right?
have little impact. You figure I have 2 hour-and-a-half practices a week when we're in our schedule. And you have 10 kids and I have an hour and a half, that limits it to what time I need to spend with each child.
Mhm.
So that was too big.
Okay, very good.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
your-
so
You're
much
welcome.
for coming
Thanks
this
for your
evening.
time,
Thank you
thanks for
very
your
much
time
for
so
having us and
far.
listening to us.
Thanks for your time volunteering to coach the kids
You're
to
welcome.
date.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on in the agenda, we're gonna move into communications and have the four-county report from Sandra.
Hi. Pretty quiet. Summer school is going well. There's minor construction projects that are underway and everything's on track. Just redoing, your basic maintenance. And then at the end of the year, just a couple names here I wanted to mention, some awards that I just heard about, through FFA. In animal management team, May Gilbert and Kennedy Nicolin of Bryan, as well as there was a young lady from Fairview, took second place in FFA awards, or received FFA awards through animal management. And then in power sports team, first place in district for state for outdoor power, there was a team that consisted of a young man from North Central who took first place as individual, but the team, we had Jacob, I was gonna name a Fairview student, Jacob Campbell, is that correct? It's spelled a little different, from Bryan, who was on that team, so just, I wanna say congratulations to those 3 different Bryan students that, did some fun things through some FFA, competitions.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay, thank you. We'll now move into the treasurer's report and recommendations. Rob?
Okay, thank you. We'll start with our financial reports for the month ended May 31. On our cash reconciliation report, our balance at Farmers and Merchant State Bank was $9,993,826. Our outstanding checks and adjustments totaled $189,179. At Star Ohio, deposits totaled $3,230,432. At Morgan Stanley, balance of $38,570,304. And at State Bank, investments of $4,002,631. Petty cash and change funds totaled $5,000. Total funds on hand at the end of May, $55,613,013. And our fund balances, our general fund balance at the end of the month was $11,687,642. Our bond retirement fund at a balance of $1,080,976. Our permanent improvement fund balance totaled $2,153,051. Our LFI building fund $3,331,170. Our capital project fund, our local share for our building project, $33,887,672. And our project fund, our state share, $2,729,921. Once again, fund balance at the end of May, $55,613,013. Any questions there? Our SM2 report, comparing budget to actual. I went into this report in May and reconciled things to our 5-year forecast from our May report, so some of the variances are a little different than maybe what you've seen in the past. Our revenues are $127,549 ahead of schedule. Our expenses, we are $289,980 under budget. Financing uses, that shows a negative $100,000. That was some an error there from when I took care of transferring the funds over to the from the food service fund back to general fund. That shows a negative $100,000, which is incorrect. So our variance at this point in time is a positive $417,529. Any question on those reports? If not, we'll move to amended appropriations. Our appropriations at this point in the year, total $31,655,127. Changes made during the month of May included a decrease in the general fund of $109,999, increase in food service of $7,500, increase in district managed activities in the athletic department of $7,471, permanent improvement fund an increase of $54,097, building project fund an increase of $1,710, supplies for resale an increase of $2,475, and our tournament fund an increase of $2,247. So total for the month, we had an actual decrease in appropriations of $34,415. Each June, we pass our temporary appropriations for the next fiscal year so that we have money in place to start business on July 1 for a clean slate for our new fiscal year. Those appropriations are listed there for your review. They total $23,472,266.50. Last year, those appropriations were $24,007,866. But that, once again, we pass those at this point in time, so we have money to start the new fiscal year. Any questions on temporary appropriations or amended appropriations? Now, we'll go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, you said it was 24 million something last year, and it's 23 million this year in the temporary.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on. We, at this point, each year we ask for the board's approval to participate in all federal programs for the upcoming 2015-2016 school year, which includes all federal grants. We ask your permission to participate in the 2015-16 federal lunch and breakfast programs, including free and reduced lunches, breakfast, and commodity programs. We ask your permission to authorize and establish the student managed activity for the BHS Robotics Club. Will be fund number 200-980A, which we talked about last month. We ask for your permission to approve the technical service agreement for next fiscal year with NBEC. They provide us some of our technology services. We ask your permission, we ask your approval for our property liability and auto insurance renewal with Walters and Peck. We handle that each time this year. That'll be for the period July 1, 2015 through June 30, 2016. That total quote is $63,281. That's about a 1.5% increase from last year, about $963. And we'd like to recognize a donation from the Civic League for the middle school for Skype author in the amount of $350. Any questions regarding those recommendations?
Okay, thank you, Rob. If there aren't any questions, could I have a motion supporting the recommendations for the month?
So moved.
Moved by Ryan, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Tom. Please call the roll.
Tom?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business. How about an OFCC update?
Yes, received an email late this afternoon from Rudolph Libby, just to let the board know Rob and I are attending weekly progress meetings over on the site, and we're also attending weekly safety meetings over on the site. The update from Rudolph Libby this month is that the building pad lime stabilization is complete, so the building pad itself is done. The East Drive, which is nearest the woods, and the parking lot cement soil stabilization are complete. Baker Schindler has started the foundation work and are approximately 20% finished with Building A. Our building is divided up into different sections, each with their own letter. 3 days have been lost on the foundation work due to the rain and wet conditions, and unfortunately Mother Nature is not helping us out in that area over the next week or so. Rudolph Libby office and conference trailers have been set up, and they have power and internet connections are installed, so we do meet on site. The sanitary sewer work of the main line is complete and now tied in. The storm sewer is 60% complete and should be finished by the end of this month. And bid package 2 has been sent out, and we open those bids tomorrow morning, June 16th. And very excited to see where those bids will come in, which will be the next big phase of the project. So, any questions that the board
I think we
has?
open those on the 17th.
You know
They
what?
come in tomorrow and we open
We
them
do,
Wednesday.
you're right, thank you, Rob. They're due tomorrow by 3 p.m. and we're gonna open them Wednesday morning on the 17th.
And that's over at the Methodist.
No, that'll be right here.
This room, okay.
Mm-hmm,
Thanks.
that'll be right here.
Okay. A lot of activity going on. I know it's always.
Not enough with the rain,
No.
but yes, lots of activity.
I can relate. Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, we want to have some discussion on building usage.
Yes, the board had asked some questions. It's been a few months since we've talked about building usage, and I was doing some research that I wanted to share with the board for your consideration. Not asking for any approvals this evening. It's something that we can look at for the remainder of the summer. So what I found out is that currently we do have current board policy. It's Board Policy 7510, which governs the use of our district facilities. It does outline what our facilities can be used for and by whom, and it gives a priority list right within that policy. So highest priority is given to anything that is directly related to the school operation or the groups that function within the schools. So your sports programs, your arts programs, your music programs, those are your highest priorities. And then your lowest priority is given to any profit-making or commercial usage of our buildings for profit. Also within that policy are just guidelines of usage, and then along with every policy that we have in the school district, there's called what's an administrative guideline. And the administrative guideline gets a little bit more specific as far as regulations, and it also outlines our costs. So I asked Rob to review those costs for us, and he provided a good analysis of where we are with not only the custodian cost of having a custodian on duty, because that is one of our policies that they must be on duty, but also the utility cost. And when we add together those and look at an average of the 3 buildings that are most utilized by outside groups, which include the Arts and Ed building, the middle school, and the high school, we find that the average total cost, if we're looking at overtime for our custodian and operational, is around any range from $42.28 an hour to $52.19 an hour. In our current policy, we charge a nonprofit group around $50 an hour for use of the auditorium, the commons area at the middle school, any gymnasium or computer room. We lower that fee if the group wants to use only the cafeteria or only a classroom. A cafeteria rate for a nonprofit group is currently $20, and a classroom current rate is $10. There are some additional costs built into our policy currently. Usage of lighting equipment, that's hired at a technician of $15 per hour. And then we have a statement that all fees will be billed through the superintendent's office and must be paid within 2 weeks of the billing date. The commercial or for-profit rates are $75 an hour for the auditorium, commons, gymnasium, and computer room, $30 an hour for the cafeteria, and $15 an hour for a classroom. I will tell you that based on current usage, there are very few profit-making entities that are requesting to use our building. It's mostly nonprofit groups. What we're running into is just some communication issues, some overlapping of events that have happened. We want to look at making sure that that does not continue to happen. So the final thing that I did is took a look at the building use contract and updated that form to make it more user-friendly for both the user and the school. And then this would be completed by everyone. One of the second pieces I found out by diving into this is that our schools are used for a variety of different reasons, and they're used a lot by our staff, that staff are just assuming that it's free, it can be used. So we're working with staff this summer to get this paperwork completed and on file so that we know what's going on in our buildings. I want to open it up for questions as well. My recommendation to the board would be that we update the form, that we make it more user-friendly. But I'm really pleased to say that our current policy covers everything that has been questioned about priority usage and rules for what they can and cannot do within the building. The only question that is not specifically addressed within the policy is on which days it can be used. And I would tell you that we have requests for 7 days a week. The only other policy that covers or would cover and apply is our Wednesday night rule, which goes from the 1st of August until the last school activity or practice held within the school district. And that's when we don't allow any student groups to use our buildings after 6 p.m. on Wednesday nights. But we do allow community groups to come in and use our buildings. So,
Are there limits of how long someone can tie up a building or usage?
there's nothing specifically stated in the current policy on how long they can use the building, no. So if that was one thing we wanted to address as a board, we could look at adding that in.
How far out in advance do they, or can they, book something?
Typically we do it on an annual basis, but that's not specifically addressed either. So we could look at adding those two things.
And forgive me because I wasn't here last month, so I apologize if this was something that was already addressed. I know one of the things I've been approached about a number of times in the community is Sunday access to the facility, Sunday evening access, and in the policy it stipulates that we have to have our janitors or maintenance people present.
Yeah, let me find that for you. This is addressed in the administrative guideline. A school custodian shall be on duty whenever a facility is being used except as exempted by the superintendent. So there is the superintendent could approve for someone else to be on duty during that time.
Okay.
That's the
But
current language.
But it would require a representative of the school district to be there.
Typically, that's what we exempt it for, is if it's an employee of the school district. That's correct, Tom.
So is that obviously the big issue has been Fountain City Festival tying up the auditorium all summer long. So you exempt them from having a school custodian on site every time they're in there? Because they're not paying rent for the whole time they're in.
That has been, when I assumed this position, yes, that has been the past practice with this board and the agreement with Fountain City. That is correct.
So they don't have to pay for all the hours they're there, and they don't have to have a school custodian.
Correct.
For what reason?
Again, that is the agreement that was in place when I took over, and until this summer, that has been what has been followed. So if we
But
want
you
to
said
look,
they have an annual agreement,
they reserve it annually, yes.
but it's never specified there that they're exempt for that, or?
No,
So it's a practice, it's not a contract.
it's a practice, it's not been in policy, correct.
Well, obviously, our facilities is something that we want to be able to provide our community, and we want to be able to work together with them and allow them to have access and usage of the buildings that, you know, they support through their tax dollars. And so I think there just needs to be an improved communications and understanding in regards to how these things are going to be managed.
Yeah, that's why we want to have the discussion, and again, that's why I'm not asking for a recommendation. I can certainly share the current board policies with board members specifically, and I will also share the new form that I would like the board to consider. And we can look at addressing some of those questions, like when can it be reserved, how far in advance, and for how long can it be reserved. We can certainly look at adding those things to the current policy.
What is the time frame they now reserve the auditorium for?
Fountain City Festival currently reserves it from June 1st until July 31st.
60 days.
Mm-hmm.
But they pay for how many?
They are typically billed for their performances, so it's,
So 6.
it used to be a 2-week performance. I think that last year, the past few years, they might have limited the performance days.
And our conflict usually revolves, or the conflict that is precipitated this discussion, it basically revolves around what, the first week of June?
Correct. We've had another organization, the pageant, has requested for use for the first week of June for their Miss Bryan pageant.
But I guess a bigger issue is that we're exempting them from paying the fee that every other organization is required to pay. And you're exempting them specifically from having to have a school custodian on site, which generates the need for additional
For the
billing.
fee. Mhm. And again, that was based on a past gentleman's agreement that was shared with me when I took this over, and had not been brought to my attention by board members or community members that needed to be addressed.
Until recently, have we had any issues previous with the scheduling and usage of the facility?
We've had conflicts. We've had, most of our conflicts come in May when we have a couple of dance performances, and just trying to juggle those with the school's award ceremonies has been difficult, but that's typically our busiest month.
But as far as the Fountain City Festival, which specifically has been addressed by Emily and Tom, have we had any issues with that specifically in the past?
Not until this year, no.
So,
Well, we don't know,
Admittedly-
we don't necessarily know about that, Ryan, because if they would call the superintendent's office, they would be told, no, there's no
It's
availability.
booked. It's booked.
So we don't know how many were turned away, honestly, because there was no information taken.
I guess my only thoughts are, I think we need to keep it within reason. When a group or organization can tie up the use of a facility for 2 months, that seems that's bordering excessive for me. I just think that there might be other opportunities or other groups that could utilize that as well. And again, we want to accommodate as many people in our community as we can.
Well,
Equitably, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't think that, 2 months out of 12, that's quite an extended period of time, in my opinion. I realize there are performances and there's work that has to be done, but I think some of that work could be done off-site to utilize that, or allow us to utilize that facilities for either other groups, or for us not to have to worry about the maintenance and the upkeep and during that time. So it's something we can discuss.
And Tom met with them, I can refer back to our notes, Tom, but that was, a concern of Fountain City, and not to say that they couldn't be asked to give some on their end, but that was a concern in order for them to put on their performance.
They want exclusive use without paying for it.
The exclusive use was the issue that was probably most focused on.
Now, I know, Ryan, you had discussion about gyms. Now, where are they running into conflict with that? Is that where you're talking about staff members bringing teams in just because they have access and not scheduling?
That's what
or-
we'd like to try to limit. I don't believe it's fair for our staff to have different privileges over someone who's maybe just volunteering. And so trying to make it equitable and recognize that if we did have a need to schedule, that trying to get better communication for that to go through one central location so that we don't have double bookings of gymnasiums or overlapping practices.
And it's tough because you have hundreds of little kid programs that are obviously supporting the varsity programs, but sometimes you'll have kids from Bryan and Fairview. So now, does that take a lower priority than kids with only, or programs with only Bryan in? And it just gets complicated because of those factors. you know, because like I said, they can be determined to be supporting the varsity program.
Right.
Again, we want to work together as much as we can, whether it's with the Park and Rec group or the YMCA or whoever that organization is out there. You know, it goes both ways. There are times that we need their facilities,
Oh, sure.
and we need to return the favor, so to speak. But at the same time, though, we want to make it available for as many people as we can,
Right.
so.
I'm interested in seeing the form that you've put together, the form, how you've adjusted it, edited, what you've come up with.
I think there's consensus that some modifications need to be made,
Yes.
or maybe clarity needs to be defined.
Okay.
And I think that's the direction that we need to go.
Okay. Is there anything else that the board would like me to look into or make sure to spell out?
I just wanna make sure that, you know, one of the things I don't want the district to have to be responsible for, especially if we're gonna start allowing certain people access to the facility, and it doesn't matter to me whether it's the Fountain City Festival accessing it or a youth sports program accessing it, that just anybody can be responsible. And I want people to be responsible for accessing the facility. I want people to know that they're using a public facility on
To
behalf of the
take on that
community.
responsibility, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
To
be
take the responsibility,
responsible.
make sure that
Well,
nobody's beating it up, that you're
correct.
cleaning it up when you're
Correct.
done.
Correct.
Let's call that
Yes.
accountability.
Yes, I want people, that's my biggest fear, because I've heard stories of us coming into buildings on Monday mornings that, you know, somebody was supposed to be in that maybe it wasn't locked appropriately, the door wasn't closed, or things like that.
Or trash left out,
Or
or
trash
whatever.
left out, or whatever. I guess however we need to address that through the forms or approval process, I just wanna make sure that's what we're addressing. That people are being accountable and held accountable to that standard.
Okay, very good. Any other thoughts or comments on building usage? If not, we'll move into superintendent recommendations. And
Okay.
we'll wait for an update on your
Yep.
recommendations.
That would not be a problem.
Okay.
Okay, under administrative recommendations, we have commendations for fourth quarter all A honor roll for our high school students. And we have a wealth of names there, so great to see and congratulations to them. Bryan High School Outstanding Senior Recognition at Fort County Career Center, as Cindra had shared with us last month. Students who are recognized for their outstanding achievement at Fort County. Students selected for next year's Light Shine Singers group. Our Special Olympians, track and field award winners, Kendall Wolf, Matt McLean, Jacob Trizzle, Desiree Northrup, Noah Buff, Jessica Fund, Emily Graziani, and Trevor Wars. We'd like to recognize them. Our 2015 Focus Show Top 20 Juror Art Award winners, our show participants. Our 2014-15 ACT 30 Plus Club. Our National School Choral Award winner, Kaylee Bowers. Our National School Orchestra Award winner, AJ Yosik. Our John Philip Souza Award winner, Kayla Niemeyer. We have our Spring Scholar athletes listed, as well as our Athletes of the Week. We had our 4x100 boys track set a new school track record in the 4x100 relay, and that was Jake Hausch, Corbin Garza, David Rummel, and Alex Dolan. On a side note, unfortunately, that was only good enough for a second place finish, but we're excited for them. Tennis district participants, Elliot Pittman and Josh Stark. District finals, we'd like to recognize the varsity baseball team. Track regional participants, Kenny Buclair, Alex Dolan, Levi Carr, our 4x100 relay team. And then our NWOAL award winners for baseball, softball, NWAL Coaches of the Year, and our NW Northwest Ohio District Softball Honors, as well as recognize Nate Rao for being named to Division II First Team All-Ohio Baseball, Kyle Rupp, Second Team All-Ohio Baseball, and our Gold Racket Tennis Award winner, Josh Stark. At our middle school, we have our top 10% recognition for grades 7 and 8, as well as our All-A Honor Roll for grades 7 and 8. We have our Ike Awards for being kind and encouraging, our Top Dog Awards for enthusiasm. At Lincoln Elementary, our Character Trait Awards for enthusiasm, our PE Gold Slip winners, and Mrs. Schrader was our Character Bear Classroom for May. At Washington, we have our Character Trait for enthusiasm, our PE Gold Slip winners, and then our Character Bear classroom was Miss Schilling's homeroom. And then finally, we'd like to recognize Rose Shook for 27 years of service to Bryan City Schools.
Okay, thank you for that extensive list. Are there any questions in regards to the accommodations for the month? If not, could I have a motion supporting that?
So moved.
Moved by Sandra, a second please.
I'll second.
Seconded by Tom. Please call the roll.
Brian,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, under recommendations as well, we have some agreements to approve. The first is an approval with the Northwest Ohio Juvenile Detention Center. This is our educational agreement. This is an annual agreement for any student who may have to be placed at the Northwest Ohio Center. The Betts Double Play Diamond Agreement, this was a new agreement. It's been reviewed by our attorneys. Changes include a difference in the length of the term and as well as the amount, as we discussed earlier. The rental fee for this term of the agreement will be $2,000. That is paid out of the baseball and softball athletic funds through fundraisers that they host. We have a request for an approval of an overnight trip for our high school boys basketball team for a team camp this summer. And then approval of the Northwest Ohio ESC mentor agreement. This is an annual agreement for our new teachers. They have to be paired with a mentor for the first 2 years of their employment.
Thank you. Are there any questions? If not, could I have a motion supporting these administrative recommendations?
I'll move.
Moved by Ryan, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Sandra. Please call the roll.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Next, we have 2 construction recommendations for the board to approve. First is a resolution to approve Cisco network systems as a sole source for our network equipment for our new 6 to 12 building and renovation of the pre-K to 5 building. Cisco network is what goes through our A site, Nowaka. It's our technology infrastructure. It is important that we be able to talk with Nowaka, and Cisco is the recommended program for that. So we're asking to be able to bid that as a sole source document.
Thank you. Is there a motion supporting that resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Tom, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Emily. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Finally, we have a resolution for approval of the CD phase review in connection with our OFCC project. The CD phase review for the new 6 to 12 building has been presented by Regency Construction and has been reviewed by our attorneys as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions? If not, could I have a motion supporting this resolution?
I'll move.
Moved by Ryan. Second, please.
I'll second.
By Sandra. Please call the roll.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes. Okay, under personnel recommendations, there is an addendum because we had some action that happened today. First of all, resignation for the purpose of retirement. We recognized earlier Rose Shook. She will be leaving us after 27 years of service, and that is effective June 30th. Resignation of Carrie Schlade as middle school library aide, effective June 30th. Resignation of Ben Elting, middle school 7 and 8 intervention, effective June 30th. And on the addendum, Shannon Selhorst, preschool teacher, also effective June 30th. Supplemental resignations, we issued fall supplementals at our last meeting, and there were some changes to those, so we need to have resignations from Bridget Kuzmal as high school assistant volleyball, Kurt Plauk as head cross country, Casey Thormeyer as assistant high school cross country, Betsy Zuver as assistant fall play director, Mark Miller as 7th grade football coach, and Lyndon Spees as middle school cross country coach. We're going to come back to those in just a few moments. Summer bus maintenance, we asked 2 bus drivers to come in and provide additional help with our bus, preparing our bus for inspections. Shelley King and Erica Hangerman came in at 0 years experience, not to exceed 80 hours total, And I'm pleased to say that all of their hard work resulted in all but one of our buses passing inspection today. The one that did not pass was being serviced at Mandeville's, and that will be inspected at a later date. So we were 100% passage rate on our buses. Administrative contract, I'd like to recommend Eric Roofer to be hired as our athletic director. 1 year retire rehire contracts for the 2015, that should say 16 school year. Sherry Grandy as a grade 6 classroom teacher on a part-time basis. Todd Grosjean as middle school health and adaptive PE teacher on a full-time basis. Doug Schimler as high school math teacher on a part-time basis. And Kathy Bauer as technology integration specialist on a part-time basis. 1 year limited teaching contracts. These are some of our new teacher hires for the upcoming school year. Elena Perkins, grade 5 intervention specialist, bachelor's level, 0 years experience on the A1 salary schedule. Becca Kuhn as speech language pathologist, master's level, 0 years experience on the A1 salary schedule. Chris Miner, grade 4 science and social studies classroom teacher, master's level, 10 years experience, A1 salary schedule. Stacy Knopfsinger, elementary middle school art teacher, master's level, 10 years experience on the A1 salary schedule. Josh Schmidt, who's on the addendum, grade 6 math and social studies teacher, master's, 7 years experience on the A1 salary schedule. Transfer of certified personnel effective with next school year. Betsy Smith is transferring to middle school 7th and 8th intervention teacher to take Ben Elting's place. And Kelly Thiel is transferring to middle school 7th and 8th grade math teacher to take Mr. Roofer's teaching position for next year. Transfer of classified personnel beginning with the 15-16 school year. Kathy Sheckelhoff to pre-K to 5 secretary, 8 hours per day, 214 days per year. Heidi Brown to pre-K to 5 secretary, 8 hours per day, 214 days per year. And Marissa Lupo to 6 to 12 secretary, 8 hours per day, 214 days per year. Extended time contracts for the next school year of 15-16. Karen Meister, Kim Bassett, Nathan Neese, Lori Poulter, and Courtney Roofer. Those are our high school and middle school guidance counselors with 10 days. Kathy Bauer, Andrea Bible, Jackie Boyd, and Rhonda Samples, 5 days. Rich Will, 10 days. And then Christine Alt and Becca Kuhn, 3 days. Extended time contract for this school year for Amy Dominic for 10 days worked this summer above and beyond her current contract. And then those fall supplementals that I mentioned earlier, including Nathan Neese, I'm recommending as head boys soccer coach, Emily Nagy as assistant high school cross country coach, Mark Miller and Nathan Keel as middle school football coach, Lyndon Spees as co-middle school cross country coach with Bryan Cummins, and Kurt Plauk as co-head cross-country coach at a 0% contract. And those are my personnel recommendations. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. If there are no questions, I have a motion supporting the personnel recommendations on the agenda as well as on the addendum.
So moved.
Moved by Tom, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Cindra, thank you. Please call the roll.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
And then supplemental contract of Casey Thormeyer as co-head cross-country coach.
Have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Emily, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ryan, thank you. Please call the roll.
Ryan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Abstain.
Thank you.
And then we have a recommendation to purchase textbooks. Mr. Reiteicher, who filled in with curriculum for us this year on a part-time basis, worked with our reading teachers in grades pre-K to 5. And in the final result, 2 grade levels are purchasing the updated copies of our current reading program called Reading Street. And grade 1 opted for just a digital edition of the same textbook. So I am recommending to purchase textbooks. This is well below the budgeted amount that we had for this year's purchase. And I'm very thankful to Mr. Reiteicher and the teachers for the work that they did on this review.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion supporting the purchase of textbooks?
So moved.
Moved by Tom, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ryan, thank you. Please call the roll.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay, points of information.
Points of information. I had a trip to Columbus on Friday to meet with Dr. Ross and the Superintendent's Advisory Group. And one of the main things that we talked about in that meeting was obviously the upcoming biennium budget. So just want to share with the board from the ODE standpoint, the Senate is still accepting omnibus and amendments, through Tuesday. They expect that the bill will be off the Senate floor by this Thursday, and next comes the conference committee. They are looking at different things that are being put into the budget, but some of the things that they feel are taking out, they're taking out the community school reform. They expect that to be a separate bill. And then also the regulatory relief is currently stuck in committee in the Senate, and they expect that to come out of the current budget as well. The Senate's view in the basis of ODE that the Senate wanted to work off current law in respect to the state funding formula for schools, not what the House had created. They said to watch about career technology in 2017, and unfortunately they do still believe that the tangible personal property tax reimbursement money is truly going to be gone. Today I also received a letter from Cliff Height, our state senator. I spoke with Cliff last week. He confirmed as well that the tangible personal property tax is pretty much out the door, as is the straight A grant funding that the state was using. One thing that we talked about, or two things we talked about with Cliff, were making sure to keep the school bidding threshold, which was supposed to be raised to $50,000, has now been taken out of the biennium budget and reduced back down to $25,000. We'd like to see that. We see that as a no harm clause. And then College Credit Plus, which is the new agreements that the state had us sign with the all the universities for post-secondary education. Lo and behold, that there's a line in the Senate bill to eliminate College Credit Plus funding to local districts.
So we'll
So
still be required to provide
still
that.
required to provide it,
So
still
we're gonna have to pay colleges for these
We-
kids to go there and take it?
with the
without
Senate,
funding.
yeah, we currently do. The state does give us a partial reimbursement, but it looks like they're looking at taking that out. So I did make a plea to Cliff that if we're going to have to be required to offer this, that the state continue to help fund it. So, doing what I can, but I do not expect to have any solid answers over the next few weeks, so we'll stay tuned.
Stay tuned to Columbus.
Yes.
Okay.
Board meeting dates, our next Board of Ed meeting, again, there is a change from the typical third Monday of the month. We'll host it on July 13th at 7 p.m. here in the Fieldhouse Conference Room. Our LPDC committee will meet August 10th at 9 a.m. and our Business Advisory Committee date for August will be announced at the next meeting.
We're having our special board retreat on June 29th.
Thank you, Rob. Yes, we are.
That'll be held at the
Mayor's Office Conference Room, correct, and that begins at 8 a.m. Or 8:30 a.m., I'm sorry.
There will be a couple items of business to take care of at that meeting, such as final appropriations for fiscal year 2015 and our transfer of funds from the general fund to PI to cover what we do at the Arts and Ed Center with our building rental there.
Okay, very good. Well, since it's June, we gave our administrators the month off.
Yes.
We had an extensive report last month from all the things to finish up the end of the school year. But we do have a need to go into executive session now. It's going to be under item A, the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of employee, or the investigation of charges or complaints against employee, official, licensee, or student. So with that, could I have a motion to go into executive session?
Awesome.
I heard Emily first, seconded
Second.
by Cindra. Please call the roll.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes. Okay, again, no action is anticipated at this time, but we'd like to thank everyone who tuned in to watch the meeting this evening, and we hope everyone enjoys their summer. Thank you.
Questions?